and you may find yourself in a new loan partnership.
Alrighty, welcome everyone. Welcome to another exciting webinar. My name is Alex Nichols. As always, I am your host alongside myself. We got a great couple of folks here with me, starting with our senior director, Tim Rowan. Tim, how you doing today?
You know what? I'm rocking out, man. Like I'm just sitting there jamming. Like that's AI T-Bro going on right there.
AIT row, I like that.
Yeah, so it is fun to do that. I'm glad we've added that to the mix of our webinars. And I got to tell you, team, we're going to dive into something today, and we've touched on this in the past, but I don't know. Sales success team. Obviously, we have Lando and Mike and Scott here with us as well,
Mhm.
Alex. And we see more and more right now. In fact, I'm happy to share Mike and I just came off a call where we really spent some time diving into exactly what we're going to dive into today. And that is paying off debts and maybe just as importantly, paying off existing liens. And so, business as usual, setting the expectation. We always will leave time at the tail end of this webinar for Q&A. It's oftentimes where all of us as professionals learn the most. But nonetheless, I want to dive in. Mike, Lando, Scott, you all ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Thumbs up. Here we go.
All right, I love this. So, folks, couple housekeeping items. First and foremost, please, any questions, post them in the Q&A section. We will be monitoring those during the session, as well as doing dedicating Q&A later on. We'll also be sending out our contact information in the chat. That's salessuccess@figure.com. But we'll be sending that and more information. I will be sending an email out later on, along with this recording will be on our YouTube channel. So I'll send out that information. Of course, as always, subscribe so you never miss anything. Now, Tim, what's today's topic? What are we talking about today?
We're going to dive into the logic or workflow, if you will, as best we can regarding paying off debts, not just revolving car loans, revolving debts, car loans, personal loans, that type of thing, but in fact, the ability to pay off existing liens, when and where that shows up, and how to best find it. And Alex, once we dive into the demo screen, I'm going to do what I do best, and that's interrupt you, and and kind of go over some of the talking points in the day in the life of a loan originator to better understand this. But yeah, Alex, let's dive in.
All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, folks. So we're going to look at two paths today, as well as we're going to look at it a bit more. I think I'm going to show off. The big thing here with our Intellidebt system, of course, is it's built into that application flow. Now, some of you, depending on your partnership type, you may have, that inquiry as well as that direct referral link. The big thing we like to push, of course, is that inquiry tool. That is you, the loan officer, starting the file. You're going to be able to see offers in the very beginning with your borrower, but more importantly, that IntelliDebt's going to be built in. And we have gotten a lot of questions over, the year or so that this feature has been live. And that's what we really want to do with this session is narrow down, answer everything, and that is going to begin with that inquiry. And later on, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at a win back path. The borrower's DTI is too high and they don't get offers. What does that also look like? So, to Tim's point, let's dive all in. We're going to go ahead and hit that create new button. We're going to fill in the information for our borrower. I'm not going to focus too much on this because it's not a full training. So we'll put in the address. We're going to put in the ownership type, which I'd like to point out we do now allow LLCs, which I think is going to be a big change.
In investment properties, just want to be clear.
Yes, thank you.
By the way, while you're on the screen, and I know we covered this on the last webinar as well, but everybody, just so that everyone's aware on the call, this is new for us. Occupancy or ownership type, meaning vesting, was never a question you, the loan originator, answered. It was always a question the borrower answered. I think this is extremely impactful for all of us. So when and if you have the ability to quickly pull a property profile in one of your sources, take a look and see how the property is currently vested, and then you can then select the proper vesting versus leaving it up to the borrower to understand the question, really, and answer it correctly.
And something I've also been bringing up, just to continue on this conversation, for ownership type, just keep in mind for trust in LLCs, we are going to require additional documentation. So this is not going to be that quick 20-minute process, say on sole and joint. And the big thing to me is for trust, we're going to request a certificate of trust. So if you're having a conversation with the borrower ahead of time, you know it's in a trust, you know it's in an LLC, just prep them ahead of time, let them know there's going to be some conditions with some documents. And again, to Tim's point, for LLC, investment properties only, you're going to see that in my product guide, but just keep in mind there will be those requirements. And it'll let you know if you run an inquiry and you select the wrong thing. Now, we're going to go ahead and select whether or not the property is listed for sale. 8 states don't allow it, just so you know. And then you're going to put in the legal name of the borrower as it's shown on their ID and the rest of their information. And then we're going to put in their financial information. And this kind of ties in a bit to direct debt payoff. So I'm going to touch on it just for a moment. We're going to put in the total annual income. Notice I'm saying annual, not monthly. This is gross income. It includes bonus, overtime, other income they want to state. And if it's a community property or homestead state, we're going to include spousal income without pulling a spouse's credit, meaning we're not going to look at their liabilities. So this is going to take into consideration their income for DTI purposes. And as that's going to be part of the underwriting. And for your borrower during the application, they're going to verify it electronically. Now, we have a lot to say on this topic. We've done some great webinars in the past that are actually hosted up on our YouTube. But just keep in mind here, we're going to take a look at this later on when we go to that win back path with things like lower income, as well as maybe you misstated the income and the like. So keep it in your head, is what I'm saying. Now, for referral source, this doesn't affect offers. You'll select whatever's applicable, and then you're going to certify permission for soft credit pull and through Method, which is our third party for direct debt payoff. And that's also a soft credit pull that doesn't trigger leads. I want to make that clear. All right, we're going to hit continue. We're going to confirm this information. If there's no offers, it'll let us know why. And once we do have offers, it's going to show us every offer available to our borrower.
Okay, I promised you. I was going to interrupt you here, Alex.
That's why I give you pauses.
This is where everybody, and I've started using the phrase for all of us as loan originators. I want to encourage everybody to slow down in order to speed up. So Alex, do me a favor and scroll down to the bottom of this page, please. You will notice a big blank area here. No total draw amount, cash required at closing, which would always be 0. No fixed term origination fee. You get it. There's no numbers in that screen. I want to share with you all that one of the things that we've seen, and again, Mike and I just had a very similar call to this not but 10 minutes ago. If you scroll back up to the top here, we have seen loan originators that they get to this point, they look at that offer and they go, okay, wow, great, $611,000, cool. However, I'm not seeing any debts to pay off, and I don't see any ability to pay off their existing junior lien. And we see loan originators that simply exit at this point. I want to highlight this and again, slow down in order to speed up. So Alex, go ahead and select a cash amount, please.
So 100,000.
Now select your origination fee, please.
We'll do 2.99.
Now
Still
select
nothing.
the term, please.
We'll do a fixed rate.
And look at that. Once you select the offer, the Get Started Intellidebt button pops up, okay? You have to select an offer first, and it's really important because even if the offer may not fit, in other words, maybe you're getting an offer in third lien position, you say, I don't want a third lien, we want to pay off the existing debt. Don't exit. Select the offer the way it's presented, then you will see the Get Started and Intellidebt button pop up, and now you can click on that. So go ahead, Alex, if you can.
There we go.
Now we're looking at a list of debts. This is another point that I want to share with everybody. When you're looking at this list of debts, what you won't see here is an existing lien. And we see loan originators, they look at that screen and go, well, again, this isn't going to work. I'll just exit and go find a different strategy. However, I want to highlight something here. Alex, go ahead and select 3 or 4 debts to pay off for me, please. Now, do you see the next button? By the way, I wish it was flashing like this in real, you know, this is our demo environment. Maybe we should add that, Alex. Maybe we should add the ability like it's a flashing sign.
I'll tell the engineering team.
So instead of exiting, you can click next. And when you do, there is the existing junior lien to be paid off. Now, I want to highlight something here. You will remember that 2 seconds ago, Alex had chosen a loan amount of $100,000. But look at what's happened on the upper right. the new HELOC amount is 273,612. Why? Because we've now added those 3 debts that we chose to pay off to the loan amount, and we've now indicated we're paying off an existing junior lien. The underwriting has that quickly redone, reconfigured for a new loan amount and offer based on paying off those debts and including based on paying off that existing lien. And Lando, I don't know if you're fielding questions already, but if there's anything that you are that needs to come up on this, Lando or Mike. By the way,
We're good. They just asked for the link to the YouTube channel. I posted
yeah.
that for
That's
everyone.
fine.
So we're good.
I do want to address all questions as we get to the end.
Absolutely.
But Alex, I'm gonna bore everybody with this, but can you please go back and let's do it again, please? I really want to drive this point home.
Let's
So
click on the button.
well, remember, you won't.
Oh, you want to go all the way back?
Well, I want to highlight this because you won't see that Intellidebt button populate until you've selected an offer and term. Once you've selected it, that's what populates that button. Then you will hit Get Started. Then you will select your debts. Then you will hit Next. This is the path for paying off personal loans, car loans, credit cards, and yes, including existing liens. Now, will every single time an existing junior lien populate here or be available to pay off? No. There's lots of logic behind the scenes, but I will share with you, this is working very, very well. And right now, and team, keep me honest here, where we're seeing a disconnect is right here on this workflow. In other words, the lien is available to pay off, but the loan originator just didn't get to here. Is that fair?
Yes, I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
So think about this. I want to encourage you all from a strategy perspective. Don't only think about this from a junior lien perspective. Remember, we will show available the most junior lien to pay off. By the way, if someone only has one lien on their property, then you can pay that off. And you might say to yourself, well, why in the world would I do that? Well, here's what I want to encourage you to all to think about. When you're working with the strategy or coming up with a good strategy for your client for them to obtain the cash they need, well, you may be looking at a cash out transaction from a regular agency perspective, which is fine. That may be the best path for them to do. But I want to encourage you to take the 2 minutes, please, go in and run an inquiry and see what it looks like for you to use this process and product to pay off the existing first lien with our product being in first lien position. And a lot of folks say, well, what in the world? Why would I do that? Well, here's a great use case. Investment properties, folks. If you have clients that are doing investment properties, especially cash out refinances, I think we would all agree the loan level price adjustments can get out of hand quickly. So will it work this way every single time? No. But I want to encourage you to at least think of it as a strategy. So don't just think HELOC. Think strategy, think getting into the lead portal, using this process and finding out what it looks like to pay off existing junior liens, even if it's the only lien on the property. So, Alex, do you want to show us a win-back solution on this?
Absolutely, I do. So, the one thing I do want to say that actually, Tim, I'll interject for a second here. Based on my own interaction with individuals, is once you confirm this, right? You can confirm the debts. Go back to the actual offer screen, right? To Tim's point, it's going to show you their max loan amount. Come back here, see how it affects the underwriting. Scroll back up to the top, see how much they're offered. Play around with this, right? This is my fun little demo here, so don't look at the numbers too closely. But for real world examples, I help LOs all the time, and I really just encourage them that run through the DDP, screen, see on that lien selection, right? Or any of the selections, how it's going to affect offers, but then go back, play around with it. It's really interactive. And then for soft credit, I also want to bring this up because I've been getting asked this a lot. Soft credit is good for 14 days and it saves your progress. So you can always leave, come back, right? If you want to call the borrower up at a different time as well as you can always just, take a look at different loan breakdowns depending on different debts paid off. And then maybe what you want to do is you want to, compare those, maybe do different scenarios for the borrower. Keep in mind, whatever you set on that actual offer page, the borrower is going to see on their offer page during the application. So you can preset it for them. But I've had that before with LOs that have maybe run a couple different scenarios based on different debt selections and then talk to the borrower about it. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a look at our win back path. So with our win back path, let me go ahead and reshare my screen. This is going to be here in our inquiry tool, right? So once again, we're going to fill in the information. And what I'm going to do here, and I told you we're going to come back to this total annual income, is I'm going to put in their income. And what's going to happen is their DTI is going to be over our threshold of 50%. Thus, they are not going to get offers. Now, when I hit continue and I confirm this, our underwriting will run and it's going to detect that. However, and you may have seen this before, what we're going to see is we are going to see an asset depletion screen. With asset depletion, what it's going to tell you is you can restate the income. And I've seen this before where maybe you put in monthly instead of annual income, or maybe there's more that you can state on there. Maybe you talk to the borrower and there's some other income to state in there. But this is also where we can do things like asset depletion. So you can add in any assets, we can see here retirement savings, investments, right? And there's a lot we can talk on this, but for today, the important thing is you scroll down. And we see a lot of people miss this. So please, if you do see this page, every single time, scroll down. And what you're going to see is you're going to see available debts to pay off, but more importantly, these are qualifying debts only. So you're going to know automatically these are going to affect the underwriting, and potentially the borrower can then get offers based on the debts that have been selected. Now,
by the way, Alex, this is
go
a
ahead.
great point, and I'm glad you really emphasized the scroll down, because to your point, we have seen this also, where one of the first questions our team will ask a loan originator when we're reaching out to help is say, did you see an asset depletion screen? And here's what it looks like. And by the way, if you did you scroll to the bottom? And what we'll commonly find is they'll go, well, yeah, I saw it. I just continued. I didn't, you know what I mean? I just got out of it. I did whatever. Make sure, please, you scroll to the bottom of the page, and that's where you will see these debts. And what's even better yet, which Alex is going to demonstrate for you here, is yes, you're not seeing an existing lien yet, but you're seeing debts that if paid off would therefore qualify giving you an offer. And then once you're in the offer screen, and again, Alex will show this, then you can actually modify additional debts to pay off.
So let's go ahead. Let's pay off a personal loan and an auto loan. The auto loan obviously going to be the big one. We'll hit save and continue. And what our system's going to do is it's going to rerun the underwriting based on these being paid off, thus lowering their monthly debt payments, thus lowering DTI. And that's going to be included in the HELOC. So we hit save and continue. I'm going to save you the little loading bar. And now they have offers where previously they would not have had offers. So this is going to now give you offers based on that debt payoff. They're going to get the desired loan amount, right? This is a full disbursement product. But what's nice about this is, okay, they're going to get 102,000, let's say. To Tim's point, you scroll down, there's no direct debt payoff shown here. So again, you have to select a term to show that. You select a term. It is now going to show you the full loan breakdown. This is going to include their direct debt payoff, which is 73,000 in this case. We're getting that initial draw of 102,000. So for this person, 107,000 roughly. Awesome. So they're now getting offers. They're getting money. They're paying off debt. This is a win for the borrower. But to Tim's point, what we're going to have is we have this modify button. If you want to modify the debt selected, number one, it is going to give you a warning, basically saying if you deselect some of these debts, it may disqualify them. Remember, we selected a very high $60,000 auto loan. I don't have auto payments, so maybe that's just coming from me. But that's really something where you are going to go, okay, but let's see if there's other debts to pay off. So we hit confirm. Now we have our personal loan and our auto loan, but now we can see credit cards. And I want to say credit cards, they don't always qualify. I get a lot of questions on this. Credit cards need at least a 680 FICO score for it to lower their DTI, as well as some other variables you'll see in the documentation. So while they can pay off credit cards, it wasn't qualifying to lower their DTI, so you didn't see it on the previous screen, but they're more than welcome to pay it off. So at this point, if they're like, hey, I wanted to pay off my credit cards, we can do so now. And we see a lot of loan officers who will miss this, who will go and run an inquiry. Maybe it's a win back path where they're paying off a personal loan, but then they go, shoot, my borrower wanted to pay off their credit cards too. And to Tim's point, they leave, they didn't, slow down to speed up to then check, and then they go elsewhere where it takes a lot longer, where the borrower could have finished this same day. So check in there, right? See what they can pay off. And then for the borrower, there's also alerts. So if the borrower tries to change any of this, it'll let them know, hey, if you deselect this debt that's qualifying you, this can result in you being declined, such as deselecting that high auto loan. Anything I missed there, Tim?
The only thing I would add is in that win back screen, in that asset depletion / win back path, you will sometimes see existing junior liens populate there as a debt as well. Sometimes you'll only see that if that's what the logic has determined is what's going to result in an offer. So I will also share that's also a part of the logic that we're continuing to enhance and improve on. And I'd be misleading if I said it was 100% right now today, but it's close. And we're working on getting it better and better and better as we keep coming out with new enhancements.
All right, everyone, that more or less was our direct debt payoff feature. Those were the big things we did want to highlight there. We have some big changes in the works. There's going to be more added to Lead Portal when it comes to visibility for you all. We have some great things planned, not just for the HELOC. We have a bunch of great products now. Tim, is there anything you want to talk about before we go to Q&A?
Not so much, other than just lean on the balance of the team here. Lando, Mike, Scott, any added talking points that you can think of, again, from a slow down to speed up mindset?
Well, I think one thing, Tim, that there's an opportunity, right, is that we've got a lot of people that have a pipeline of loans that are really have real low interest rates on the first, right? But people have acquired a lot of high interest debt. So I think the biggest thing is that this is a great tool to utilize to educate people on your overall effective interest rate, right? What you're actually saving versus the numbers you're seeing while still keeping that low interest rate on the first available. There's a great opportunity to mind your current pipeline that you could have a bulk of business, that's conversations you could have that could tackle those debts they got through COVID without removing that first. So there's a lot of opportunity to take this to market. So that would be my
Lando, that is a fantastic point. And can you all tell we've added someone else to the team that's actually been in the loan originator space. So one, thank you, Lando, for that comment. And I'll just add to that and reinforce that approach this from a perspective of blended rate. So if someone has, I'll give you some real numbers. If someone has a 2.875 existing first mortgage and they come in and they get a line of credit at 8.5%, folks, the blended rate is 6.04%. I think I'm pretty close to that when I ran the numbers last on this. I would challenge that you probably couldn't do a cash out refinance at less than 6.04%. and by the way, for least amount of cost as well. So remember, it's not just a rate game as much as it is a cost game. So compare apples to apples. That's one of the reasons why I love this as a strategy. And still huge opportunity in this regard. So Lando, thank you for that. Mike, did you have anything you were thinking about?
No, I think Lando hit it right on the head
Nailed it.
there. So it was a great point. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm gonna do this cautiously. Scott, anything come to mind?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Tim. Now, look, my advice, look, it's easy to take an existing borrower, go into your LOS, pull out the information, plug it in, throw something together and send it to them. Have them on the phone so they know what you're doing, why you're paying off certain things. If you uncheck this, you might lose the deal. Let them know what to expect. Set the expectations for the borrower. Don't send them the approval for 611 that Alex got initially, because if they turn around, it's full draw required at closing, and they turn around and pay off 90% or more, there might be an early payoff penalty on there. So, talk to your borrower, see what they really need, see what they really want, and qualify them based on what the system does. And look, you can't tweak an offering until you get an offering. I think that's important too, right? You got to get the offer first before you can tweak it. And you're right. Everybody stops and says, I want to pay out the second. I didn't see it anywhere. And then I can't tell you how many incompletes I see in the
Right.
portal.
Right.
Yeah.
And Scott, it beautifully said, and you touched on this one, which I'm passionate about, and that is expectation. Please, please, please set the expectation of your borrower as to what the process and workflow is going to look like. Set the expectation, to Scott's point, that if you've paid off debt in order to qualify, make sure to let them know, don't mess with that. Now our system will alert them, but nonetheless, let them know what you've done. That's why they're using all of us as loan originators, mortgage advisors, professionals, if you will, to help guide them through that strategy. So Scott, great point. And then, I don't know, do we have any, I know we don't have a ton of attendance today, but this will be recorded. What we find oftentimes is folks register for the webinar and then just wait for Alex to send him the recording.
We have a question here from William saying, I had a $380,000 loan in the pipeline that expired and was canceled by the system. Would like to get that back in the pipeline. Pretty sure it's a good deal. Didn't know the system well. Anyone I can talk to about getting it back. So, team, what kind of advice we would give and, how to get that borrower back and started.
Well, I will say, one, you can reach out to us at salessuccess@figure.com if someone wants to put that down in the chat there.
I did, yes.
And we can help you navigate restarting an inquiry, but you wouldn't be reactivating the existing one by the way, most likely what happened is it expired is what my gut feeling tells me. And so you would have to start a new inquiry for that borrower for that, but we can help you with that if you need.
Absolutely. Reach out. And again, soft credit is good for 14 days. I have seen that happen a lot where a borrower doesn't proceed and then it's just a decline for expiration of soft credit. Same thing with hard credit. Hard credit is good for 29 days. But that's something where you just have to get them restarted. So let us know how we can help.
By the way, on a larger picture there, maybe one of the best opportunities there regarding that question is schedule some time with the team, Mike Lando, Scott, myself, and let's dive into better understanding pipeline management, at least within our portal. I don't mean to try and tell loan originators how to manage their pipelines. That's not my point. My point is understand where you can go look in the inquiry tool, whether a borrower has engaged, hasn't engaged, where to find the details page, that type of thing. That's the opportunity there.
Absolutely.
More questions?
Not at all. Not a comment from David when it comes to notification on the webinar. I'm going to look at our settings when it comes to email notifications. Other than that, folks, if you have any questions, put them in. Otherwise, I think this may be a short one, Tim.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, I could use the announcement less than 1 hour before. That's a good point, David. We'll have to check on that, Alex. Please, Alex, take that as a takeaway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for our webinar announcements. Anything else, team, to add? No, everyone's.
If you have questions, you can send an email to salessuccess@figure.com. If they come up later, if you're going through an inquiry, you're going through our Intellidebt system, and you have a question, please reach out and let us know. We'd like to walk you through it.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great one. See
See ya.
ya.